right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today for this panel, Navigating Partnerships. So before we begin, I definitely want to thank our panelists for being here today. Won't be anything hard, as we're all just having conversation. There's nobody here, nobody here. Oh, and it just went out, okay. Okay, we're good. All right, so before we begin, would you guys like to introduce yourselves? Do we want to start with you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ina Jones, also known as Ava's mom, and I am the president of Ava's Pet Palace. I've worked for her business now full-time since 2020. She started Ava's Pet Palace when she was just 8 years old. She is 17 now, and we are, thank you. We thank you. we make dog and cat treats.
And I am Kimberly Gauthier. I write the blog Keep the Tail Wagging. I also have a podcast with my friend Erin called The Alternative Dog Moms. I am a raw feeder, and so what I do is I educate pet parents, specifically dog owners, on how to feed fresh food, how to improve the kibble that they are feeding, and how to transition to a raw food diet.
And I'm Dan Nagler. I am the founder of Pact Partners. We're a consultancy that focuses on building partnerships across the pet space. So I bring about 20 years of partnership building outside of the pet space to this industry that I'm so deeply passionate about, and thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thank you guys for joining us today. So when it comes to partnerships, there's a gap, right? Sometimes where we have large brands, small brands, consumers, everyone is selling to each other essentially. But there's a missing link oftentimes in partnerships. My first question to you all, and feel free to jump in at any point, would be, what are some of the key factors startups and organizations should consider when identifying potential partners?
Well, I think for us, we like to partner with people and organizations who have the same values as us. Maybe where our goals are also aligned. A partnership is a relationship, and you really should be involved with partners that you align with on, business and in what's the word I'm looking for? Business and like your values.
For me, it's really about having a long-term partnership. One thing, as a content creator, when I'm working with brands, one thing that I find is that they think that I'm going to review a product and somehow that's going to translate to sales, when it takes a long time of me repeatedly talking about a product for my readers to actually start asking questions about that product. I also need to be a regular user because I want to be able to answer questions from a personal experience intelligently so that my readers understand that, yes, I do very much stand behind the product. You can find influencers that will just promote your product one day and they're promoting someone else the next day. But the difference is that a lot of the people in the pet space, because we're so passionate about our pets, we're not as quick to jump onto what an influencer is going to be selling. We actually find the people that we trust, and those are the people that we are going to believe when they say, hey, this is a really good product. Those are the people that they're going to believe. So just be prepared to be in there for the long haul when you're having those relationships.
For me, as someone who's focused largely on marketing partnerships, so bringing, two brands, irregardless of size, together, I think there's probably three things I look for. One is kind of alignment around motivations. So understanding each other's whys, super important. The second would be context. So do these two brands coming together, their products or services, do they fit together in a way that the end consumer, the end user would understand and would make sense? Because context is really important. And then I think the third thing is access. So when brands come together, do they have the right channels? do they have the right ways of connecting with their consumers or their end users? Do they have actively engaged audiences that they can communicate to and that will be receptive? So I think if you have those three things, you're on the path towards finding a well-aligned partner.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So another question would be, well, how can startups and organizations ensure that their goals and values are aligned? Are there any strategies, or how can they ensure that they're on the right track with their partnerships?
For people in my space, one thing that I find is getting on a phone or jumping on a Zoom call, or even if you're in the area, going out to lunch or dinner and building that friendship and having those conversations. That's when you can figure out if you're on the same space, if you're going, because basically as a brand, you're trusting that I am going to represent you appropriately, that I'm not going to be saying inaccurate information, maybe getting you in trouble with the FDA because I'm claiming that your product does something that it does not do. You also want to know that the rest of my content is in line. So actually take the time, do your research. Don't just look at how many followers someone has, because to be perfectly honest, follower count means absolutely nothing if the engagement isn't there. You want to look for people who have the engagement, where their followers are sharing their content, they're asking questions, they're giving, leaving comments, and they're actually doing a back and forth. And that's basically how you're going to be able to at least get started on understanding if you guys are on the same wavelength.
So for us, being a treat manufacturer, we started making the treats in our kitchen, organic, limited ingredients. So it was really important for us to find a manufacturing partner that had the same, that would be able to take our recipes and create, the same product. And so even as we grow now, we still look for manufacturers that, that have the certifications and, create products that we know that our customers would love and enjoy.
I think for me, one way to think about it, it's a lot like dating, right? So I think you have to kind of peel back the onion a bit. And so there's, as you said earlier, it's about building a relationship. It's about communicating, asking lots of questions, doing your homework, and discovering, more and more about where you're aligned or where maybe you're not exactly aligned. I can think of actually a recent example. I was one of my clients. We entered into some discussions with a prospective partner, and it was only through asking thoughtful questions that we both kind of found some common ground that we hadn't expected. So we found alignment around particular efforts in the breeder and shelter space, and that actually probably is going to ultimately facilitate or fast track what would have maybe been a more exploratory discussion, because now we found kind of some common ground to anchor on. So I think it's around communicating and again, peeling back the onion so that you can get to some common ground.
Great. That's really good advice. I apologize, guys, for the microphones, a little technical difficulties, but we're going to work through it. Okay, so my next question is, so we want to know, how do we get to those relationships? Like, what are some tips or what feedback can you give on how we should be approaching these brands or influencers to establish, some type of partnership? What are ways that we should go about that?
For the influencer space, I think, well, for instance, with Ava's Pet Palace, not to speak for you, but that's just what's on my mind. Finding people that are like dog trainers, people who are going to be using treats, dog trainers, dog walkers, pet sitters, finding connections with groups like that, maybe even connecting with a rescue group so you can add sample bags of the treats within the adoption bags that go home with people. There are so many opportunities to just start building and getting your name out there. When it comes to like with influencers, if you want to work with an influencer, I really think that it's tempting to go to the person that has the biggest following, that gets thousands of views on their videos. The problem is that a lot of people are going to be touching those people. Those are going to be very expensive people to hire. I really think that it's better to go with someone who is a little smaller, who has really good engagement, has a good heart, someone that you may already follow, that you really like and you connect with what they're putting out there, and see what you guys can do together. And, you know, maybe keep the expectations low and start building onto that. And as you grow and as they grow, it's amazing what you can do. There are people that I've been working with for years that are now my friends, and I promote their stuff without even a thought of what can I get out of it, because I very much believe in their product. And so I think that it's time to get away from and people probably 100% in my space disagree with this, but the whole, you're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars for someone to promote your stuff. The problem is once they stop making videos from you, everyone's forgotten about you. But if it's someone who really believes in what you're doing, I mean, if I'm posting about a product that I love, every time I post a meal prep video, your supplements are in the background. Every time I post an open box video because I just ordered something out of my own money because I believe in a product so much, that has such more power to my audience and to just pet owners in general, because owning a pet, it ain't cheap, and it's getting more and more expensive. So people are tired of wasting money on stuff that's just basically, someone making money because they're told that, promote this and we'll give you this. And all
to echo what you just said, I think another, we're sitting on a stage talking about emerging brands. We're also talking about connecting, these smaller or emerging brands with larger brands. I think sometimes the magic can happen when two smaller brands come together, equally the same, right? Because they are at a similar stage. They may be reaching similar customers. Their motivations might be well aligned. And again, not to dismiss the value of large brands, there's plenty of potential alignments there. But if your question is, how do you go about starting? If you're going to go knock on the door of larger brands and you're, a very early stage company, it might be hard for you to break through, right? So you have to, don't always just chase the bright, shiny object. I think there's natural places to start that might be smaller and in closer proximity to kind of where your company is at. And then the other thing I would say is, it goes back to doing your homework, I guess. Try and understand what their pain points are. Even if you're approaching a larger company and you're a smaller startup, understand what that pain point might be for that larger company and how you could help solve that, or what opportunity you could unlock for them. Show them how you could bring value. Approach things maybe from a place of curiosity and just openness. And I think that can help lead to conversation, and conversation ultimately can lead to, the desired outcome, which is partnership.
So I think we, as smaller brands, need to be where the larger brands are. We need to be in the rooms with the larger brands and being at events like SuperZoo and Global Pet Expo. This is where you meet those brands. And I can just speak for us. We've made some amazing partners and amazing relationships just from being at events like this and putting ourselves out there to meet these brands. And then as a smaller brand, trying to partner with the larger brand, just remember that, you have value too. Just because you aren't as, as maybe, don't have as much money or the infrastructure or the team is as a larger brand would, that you too have value.
I also think that with Ava's Pet Palace, you guys hit the market with such a unique story that it caught all of our attention. Seeing this young girl doing something that, when I was her age, I was not even thinking, and there's no way my mom would have been able to keep me focused to do this long term. And then basically we sat there watching Ava grow up and watching new products come. We all mourned with her when her cat passed away. You know, that is a story that anyone would want to jump on. And I think a lot of times brands hide behind their products and they don't put a person or a face in front of that. And again, this is not like other industries. The pet industry is a personal industry. This is an industry where all of us understand the pain of losing a pet. All of us understand the frustration of trying to get our pet to tell us what's wrong with them and not trying to figure it out. Or going to the vet to say, my dog is sick, but they're not doing what they were doing last night. And you're trying to get that understanding, trying to understand what products are good for our pets and which ones are poison. I mean, I put so much time into my dogs. It's insane. But this is a place where it's not insane because I'm around a ton of people who do the same thing. So don't hide behind a brand. Actually create a really good story that people can connect with, and everyone will be knocking at your door.
Ava, I don't know how you're not up here and we're just talking about you. But so with that being said, and being human, right, and having the opportunity to build community, right, around our brands, my next question would be, well, how do we navigate conflict, right? So as sometimes we're not always great in relationships, like, divorce is a real thing, right? So you can get into partnership and then say something arises. Like, how do you deal with that conflict without just saying, okay, I'm done cutting everything off? How do you navigate conflict with partners?
I could try and tackle that. I think, there's a common theme that's probably coming out, but it is really about building a relationship. It is about building that trust. It is about having good communication up front. So if you set the foundation right, inevitably things are going to go wrong, right? Products are, going to hit a snag, or timelines are going to get pushed back, or customers are going to be dissatisfied about something. So I think if you set the foundation, that's part of the equation. Depending on the nature of the partnership, like, if you're maybe partnering with, let's say, a large retailer, right, you may want to predefine milestones for check-ins. So you might want to have like monthly business reviews or quarterly business reviews. So you can have those open conversations about the good, the bad, the ugly, kind of, instead of maybe retreating and finding yourself avoiding, the uncomfortable situations. But I guess it's just like good hygiene, right? You just build the foundation, and you also set some of those expectations up front around how you're going to communicate and how you're going to address issues, right? Like, what's your response time is something that's kind of standard. You don't want your partner or your retailer to be trying to get a hold of you and can't for 7 or 10 days. So you have to just kind of set some of those expectations, I think, at the outset.
I agree. I don't want to repeat what you said.
Okay, so from my little segment of the world, conflict is just part of the game. I mean, social media is a place where people feel very comfortable saying whatever they want to say to whomever they want to say it, and trotting away feeling good about themselves. So the one thing that I had to develop was a very thick skin and an I don't give a damn attitude. And once I was able to get through that, it didn't bother me as much anymore. But again, conflict is going to find you. It's just, again, it's the way it's going to be. When it comes with brands, I find that instead of developing a relationship where someone is paying me a set amount of money to promote their things, I will join their affiliate program. That way, if I don't want to work with them anymore, I just don't promote their stuff anymore. And if they don't want to work with me anymore, they just shut off my affiliate account. It's really not that, we're basically ghosting each other. No one's feelings gets hurt, at least not in my case. And I find that I adjust and adapt because everything is based on my personal experience and my dogs. So if I'm using a product with this dog and that dog is no longer a fit for that dog anymore, I can't really spend my time promoting the product. I'll mention it here and there, but I'm going to go on to what I'm using right now. So, and having brands understand that that's how I work, being clear about what my boundaries are, makes it a lot easier. When it comes to the audience or the followers, again, you're going to annoy people. I mean, I was thinking about adopting a puppy, and that pissed somebody off like you wouldn't believe. Why? Because she didn't think I should be posting about it. I should only be posting about raw feeding. I didn't say anything because I don't care. And 10 years ago, I would have cared and stressed all about it, but I just don't care anymore. You're always going to have someone who jumps into the comments to say whatever they want to say, and there's nothing to get around it. You don't feed into it. You don't give them the attention that they're looking for, and you just move on. And what's beautiful about that is, as an influencer, when you carry yourself that way, and when brands see that and they see that you're not going to be problematic, you're not going to be yelling and arguing with their potential customers over petty stuff, you can develop better relationships that will actually help you build your brand. And if you want to turn this into a business, build your business.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. So, well, then my question would be, well, how do you navigate that? So, for example, would you say it's a great idea to have contracts and agreements and this, that, and the third? Like, does it turn you away if someone is coming on really strong in regards to having a whole list of rules and demands that you have to follow? Or do you feel being a entrepreneur or a creator, or even just providing strategy, like what are the best ways to navigate that? Like, how do we create our own rules?
I'm probably the worst person in the world to answer that question, only because I have a different outlook on how I do things. This is not my full-time gig. I'm an accountant. This is what I do because I love doing it. And the reason why I don't do I've had people come to me they wanted me to sign contracts, sign non-disclosure agreements. I will not work with people like that. I want to be able to just trust you. I am your customer who's just going to go and talk about what I bought. And this is why I very rarely accept free products from brands, because I don't want to feel obligated to do a review if I don't like it. I don't want them coming back and being upset with me if I didn't like it and I did a review and they didn't care for my review. Although I will say my reviews are very equal and fair. But again, the pet industry is just a different industry. A lot of the people, especially in the fresh food space, a lot of the brands that I work with are small business owners. So they take it very personally when someone doesn't love their products. And I completely understand it, because when I wrote my first book and I got my first 3-star review, I about lost my mind. And when I read that the reason why she gave me 3 stars was because I had a misspelling and no one deserves 5 stars, I wanted to light her up. So I understand why people are passionate, but that is exactly why I buy the product. And if I like it, I'll write about it. If I don't like it, I won't write about it. I don't feel any pressure. They don't feel pressure or have to worry about me. And it ends up being, I'm okay with taking the time to build that relationship. I don't need to be your best friend right now. I'm okay with 5 years from now you realizing my value, because over the past 5 years I've proven myself to you. Maybe not 5 years.
Well, that's good. So how do you define, how do you define a successful relationship? Because, right, success is different to everyone, right? Depending on where you are. How do you measure success? Like, what metrics do you guys use?
So this may sound cliche, but I'm sure Michael and Ava know that this answer is coming from me. It's really about how happy we are with the relationship and the partnership. And like once you pull back, any KPIs or metrics or, whatever your relationship is, whatever the partnership is based on, what it boils down to is how happy are we with these people as partners, and how and how happy are they with us as partners. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
For me, it's about friendships. So there are a lot of businesses here today who I actually know the owners and we're friends. And when we start making plans to come to SuperZoo, we're making, okay, when are we going to grab dinner? When are we going to grab lunch? These are people that I talk to all throughout the year. They will tell me about new products before anyone else knows about it because they know I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But these are people that have become friends. So to me, that's how I develop or I determine if it's a successful relationship. Is if these are people that I truly enjoy being around. I know that they have the best interests of our pets in mind. I see their heart and their passion behind everything that they do, and I have a whole lot of respect for them, and it's reciprocated.
I think from where I sit in the industry, I would say some of this makes a lot of sense. There's the qualitative kind of dimension to it. So the relationship, the happiness, the longevity, those are all ways to measure whether something's working or not. And then on the quantitative side, it really just depends on like what your objectives around partnership were. So if you're a brand that is trying to work with another company and grow your customer base, right? You should be somewhat thoughtful upfront around how am I going to measure that? Is it the sheer number of new customers? Is it the cost I spent to acquire those customers? Is it the lifetime value of those customers? There's a lot of different ways you can look at it, and I think there's no right way or wrong way. I think as depending on the stage of your business and like how much rigor you have around it, and just kind of like what part of the industry you're in, and you're gonna find what works for you. I would just say with partnership, again, it's about expectations. So if you're able to define something, again, let's just say it's the sheer number of new customers or the increase in average order size. Share that with your partner. Let them know what your expectations are. That's what you're going to be measuring. And then share those results with them as you get them so that you guys can grow towards this happy long-term, relationship.
So I want to get in your business really quickly before we open up for questions. But from each of you, can you guys give because you guys have different perspectives, right? We have an influencer, we have a company, and then we have a strategist, right? So can you give me an example of what a successful partnership, what that looks like from your perspective, from your companies and from the positions that you guys are in? Give it you can give a personal example or just a in theory would be good.
Okay, I could start with this one since you need a second there. I think at the end of the day, the most, again, I've been doing this for a long time, largely outside of this industry. I would say if you're able to delight the consumer or the end user, that is probably one of the best proxies for success and defining success. Again, there may be some specific metrics you think you want to hit that equals success, and that's completely an okay perspective to have. But I find the brands that enjoy working together, that delight the consumer, delight the user, bring value, like make someone's life better by working together. I think those are kind of North Stars, for success.
For me, okay, so this is cringe, but my youngest dog turned 2 on August 5th. And at the I am on the board of directors of a rescue in Washington. And so I took my puppy from a litter of puppies that we were fostering. And we have a Facebook group where everyone who adopts from us joins the Facebook group. That's way all of the litter mates, we can all stay in touch with each other. It's helpful just for behavioral issues, for health issues, or just to get together. And my particular litter, we decided we were going to get together at least once a year on their birthday. And I hosted at my house. And I decided at the last minute that I want to treat it like a real birthday with balloons and little goodie bags. And what do you put in goodie bags for dogs? So I contacted Fluff and Tough, I contacted Rodney Habib, I contacted Real Dog Box, I contacted Real Mushrooms. I reached out to a lot of brands that I love, and every single person sent me something for the goodie bag, and not samples, full-on products. So people are leaving my house this weekend with full-on products, with a book and everything. And it's just like the fact that I can reach out to these brands and ask for something at the last minute for something that's pretty frivolous, and they, laugh at me, but still they come through. That is a sign that I have built some very successful relationships.
So I'm going to keep this really simple. I think for us, like, our most successful relationships are with companies and people that we know, like, 100% we can trust. And, just having those types of relationships and being able to trust the manufacturers or the vendors that we're working with is like, so it's so important for us, because from the start of our product all the way to the finish, we rely on partners. So we have bag manufacturers and treat manufacturers and freight partners and retail partners. So being able to trust all of our partners 100% is what makes a successful partnership for us.
Well, that was some good stories, guys. So I'm going to open up for Q&A really quickly. Is there anyone who has a question in regards to partnerships? If you have an idea, thought, theory, anybody have a question that they want answered?
If you're paying pet influencers, what's a good commission or general rate on a product?
Kimberly, you want to take that? Or anyone.
It really it depends. I generally work with small companies. So, and I know that, like, for instance, this is not cheap. So when I walk around to go to booths, I don't walk around and ask for free stuff, because I know that all of their money went into this booth. And so I will offer to buy something and just get the SuperZoo rate. I think that it's important to look at your budget and what works for you, and offer what you feel is fair and appropriate. And if they say, no, I can't do that, then that's fine, move on. But don't overspend, because I find that when people do that, you're expecting something big back and you may not get it. It takes time to really build an audience to trust a product, because we're being marketed to all day long, and people are tired of it. I mean, I think it's called influencer fatigue, where people are tired of someone constantly marketing and, oh, this video is sponsored by. People are tired of it. So it's even harder for us to promote a product. So I don't want to see people offering someone several $100s to promote and thinking that they're going to get several $1,000s in sales. On the flip side, don't offer us a sample bag of dog treats in exchange for our time, because it does take time. I have a full-time job, but my blog and podcast and social media, that's my second full-time job. I spend hours working on videos and articles and promotions and all, and I do this just for fun. For an influencer who is doing this full-time, they're putting in even more work. So to take that and give them a bag of dog treats, and I'm not picking on y'all, but that's what I usually get, is someone will offer me a sample bag of dog treats and expect me to promote something for 3 months. And it's just, I don't even bother responding to those emails, because it's just sort of like, break that down to an hourly rate and think about, is that fair? but ultimately it really has to do with your budget. And I want to say also, if you are a small business, there is no reason why you can't do what I do. If I have a full-time job, if I can get through tax season and still keep up with my blog and my podcast, then there's no reason why you can't do it either. It's just you need to know how to do it. And it does take time to figure it out, but you will figure it out, or talk to someone that you trust that can give you tips and tricks on doing it. I'm happy to do it. Buy me a drink or buy me a meal. I'll tell you everything I know. But there's no reason why you can't do it yourself. That way, when you are or you want to work with an influencer, maybe you'll have enough clout on your own that they'll want to work with you in turn. Because Ava Pet Palace, they ain't hurting.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments? There we go.
Hi, my partner and I just started a brand last year, so we're fairly new to the pet industry. My background is in IT consulting, and her background is in marketing. I wanted to ask, what advice would you give to a brand that's just starting out and looking to build its first significant partnership? And that's in addition to what you've already mentioned on like building trust, establishing relationships, and things like that. Anything else that you would recommend?
So there was a word in there that indicated this is a very meaningful sized opportunity, maybe. I would say the advice I would give you is there's a few things. One, don't let a bright, shiny object distract you from your focus. So to the extent that you can, if this is something that you want to pursue, just make sure it's kind of in line with the direction that you're already moving. For example, right, you could maybe feel some pressure from this opportunity to have to build something, technology-wise or otherwise, that deviates kind of from your plan. And that could be a real risk. So I would say, don't get distracted. The second thing is do your diligence, right? So there's, you should have enough conversation with this opportunity, this partner, to really understand all of the potential, speed bumps or pitfalls or expectations they might have of you or on you. Because very quickly you could feel a lot of pressure that, again, pushes your business in a direction that you don't want it to be going. The third thing I'd say is probably for yourself, have realistic expectations. Again, I don't know enough about your company or who you're thinking about partnering with, but a lot of times people get this idea that, something magical is going to happen. And it's really more like of a slow, iterative growth. So you can get very excited by these opportunities, what you think they can do for your business, but it usually doesn't unfold that way. So I'd say I hope that's helpful for you.
I can answer that too. So, I'm the queen of networking. I thrive through that. So my feedback would be intentional about your relationship, and don't be afraid to massage it, right? You want to make sure that you're invested in the product or brand emotionally, and not just like, oh, I just love it, it's so cute. You want to really get to know the company, the people behind it. Invest time really getting to build that relationship. No one wants to meet someone and it's like they punch them in the gut and like, hey, we just want a partnership, or we want you to pay us to do this. Learn to massage a relationship. Really understand, for the longevity of it, right? We don't date someone and 2 days later and get married. Some people do, right? Some people do. I won't knock on it. However, you want to spend time really getting to know the people that you want to work with. Help them to become emotionally invested in you, right? And sometimes that's showing up to their events. Sometimes that's just showing face, and sometimes you might have to do something for free, But if you're really invested and if you're looking at it for a long-term relationship, don't hesitate when it comes to just massaging it, really getting to know them, allowing them to know you, help them to fall in love with you, and for you to make sure that you're in love before you fully commit. You know, divorce is a real thing. I'm not an advocate of divorce. However, you know, you want to make sure that you're invested for all the right reasons, and that way, when you put your time and your energy, it's really going to count because they're going to know you on a deeper level. It's not just going to be surface; it's going to be here, right? So that would be my advice.
Actually, one other quick thing: don't be afraid to say no, right? Whether it's around specific terms or obligations that they might have, you know, put on you, or even just walk away from whatever this opportunity is, because again, sometimes no is better than the path that yes takes you down.
First, I just want to say congratulations. I know, like, firsthand how tough it can be just to even start a business. And I would love to hear about it after this. So I would say that just making sure your foundation is solid. I think people, like, you know, see companies and they think, you know, they just appeared out of nowhere, and maybe they did, but that wasn't us. We there were 4 years of, you know, working with Ava before really anybody knew who she was. So by building that foundation, when the larger partners come, you'll be ready.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Yes, maybe? No? All right. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us. And if you guys are interested in learning more and you want to connect with our panelists, we are going to be doing a mixer at 4 South Pacific Room F, I believe. So we can continue conversations there. So thank you.